Hey golfers, Happy New Year. Tony from MyGolfSpy here, kicking off 2019 with something new and potentially exciting from PXG. I'm talking about 0811X and 0811XF Gen 2 metalwoods, second generation, which is actually the third generation of PXG drivers. Anyway, we've got drivers, fairways, hybrids. We're not going to talk about those last two here, but definitely we're going to have a conversation about the drivers because we've got some pretty exciting things happening under the hood here. It's PXG, so let's start the conversation in the natural position. We're talking price, right? Here it is, $575, $575. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I want you to keep in mind that yours truly here predicted $1,000 price point. So by virtue of me being wrong by more than the cost of a Tour Edge driver, I saved you $425. You're welcome, guys. More relevant to the discussion, more to the reality of the situation. Look, 575 is a lot. Keep in mind, by the end of this week, you're going to have both Callaway and TaylorMade above the $500 price point, and that's in addition to Wilson at $500, Titleist at $500, and if I'm predicting what we're going to see in the coming weeks, I don't think that's going to be the end of it. There'll be others at $500 as well. So 575 high, not nearly as insane as 850. And why is that? Why the change? Look, PXG has done pretty well with the Gen 2 irons. They have quantifiable market share. It's not TaylorMade, not Callaway level, but the numbers are meaningful. Metalwoods haven't done particularly well to date. Some of that is price, right? I said 850 is a lot. The other part is a performance perception. Look, the original 0811, spinny as fuck. No way to get around it. It's not to say it didn't fit some guys, but for the middle of the market, not even in the conversation. The 0811X driver I actually liked quite a bit. Kind of mid to low spin, probably better than it ever got credit for. And again, $850. Compare that to a Callaway Rogue, TaylorMade M Series, tough sell, right? That's reality. The other part of the story, Bob Parsons will tell you, he's been in the golf business for 4 years. Startup costs have been absorbed. He's doing higher volume, manufacturing costs are down, so he's saving some money and he's passing that savings on to you. And that should be the last we have to talk about PXG and price, because quite honestly, there is a performance story here, a real engineering story. For all the talk of ducks, nuts, and kaboom, baby, there's some legitimate stuff happening under the hood here, and I think it's really worth kind of delving into, so let's do that. First feature, Hot Rod Crown. Kind of a cheesy name, I get it, but look, inspiration comes from American muscle car hoods. I'm guessing Chevys in particular. Bob Parsons, big Chevy guy. Signature feature, kind of this raised design, as well as kind of this rib structure that unintentionally has kind of served as an alignment aid, kind of channeling your eyes to the ball at address. Look, actual mileage may vary. I spoke to Billy Horschel about it. He absolutely swears by it. So again, real, not real, really depends on you. But what I will say is I like it, and I really love the flat matte design. Didn't love it initially, but the more time I've spent looking at 2019 designs, the more this one has really grown on me and become my favorite. So we'll see some more in the coming days, but this one is definitely unique. Now, above and beyond the cosmetic features, there's some technology in play here. Carbon fiber, and what's really different from the previous iteration is that PXG has stiffened the crown significantly. And so what that gets you is less deformation at impact, right? So kind of less kind of wanting to pop and expand and do that stuff. Stays rigid at impact, and so what you get is more transfer of energy back to the golf ball and ultimately more speed. So that's the performance angle. Can't talk about a crown without talking about aerodynamics. Look, PXG, like everybody else, provided the charts to say, hey, yeah, we have good aerodynamics. And the reality is, while you can get a little bit from aerodynamics, it's never going to be something significant. So it's not really up until you get up to 110, 120 miles an hour, and that's not a lot of golfers, that you really start to see any sort of appreciable differences. Not to say the little bits don't add up, but again, everybody is pretty good, so you're not going to get a significant difference either way. So bottom line, look, if you're buying for aerodynamics and expecting to have a massive performance improvement because of it, prepare yourself for massive disappointment. Look, perfectly acceptable aerodynamics, probably not the best in the industry, but it'll get the job done. Don't sweat it. Now, the real story, as far as I'm concerned, is what PXG has done with the structures. And woo, structures, really exciting stuff, right? But from an engineering standpoint, it's really impressive. So when I talk about structures, I'm talking about the sole here, I'm talking about this skirt area, I'm talking about the ports that hold these weight screws. What they've done is removed mass from all of that. And it's a fairly significant savings over where they've been in the past. And that's allowed them to really push the boundaries of what we've seen in conventional mass properties for drivers. Now, we're gonna geek out a little bit. We'll put the links up to our story on driver CGs and things like the neutral axis and what all that means and why this stuff is important. But here's the bottom line, based on CAD projections, right? So these aren't measured parts yet. We're gonna get that done pretty quickly here, but CAD projections put the CG of this X driver at -4 millimeters, so 4 millimeters below the neutral axis. Context, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, that is the lowest center of gravity relative to neutral that we've ever seen. So impressive. Even if CAD doesn't quite measure up to reality, it's still gonna be really good. Now that 4 millimeters is with the weights in the forward position. I actually have them in the back here. I would also point out that there are some draw positions with the X model as well. But 4 millimeters weight forward, weights back, climbs to 1.5 below neutral, so -1.5, still really, really good. But again, based on CAD projections. So what that's gonna get you is really low spin. And in fact, based on those same projections, I'm gonna say this is probably gonna be one of the lowest spinning drivers on the market, if not the lowest spinning. And that's with the heavy weights in the forward position. Now, other things to keep in mind, MOI, weights forward about 4,400, so that's gonna be low end of average. Not exceptionally high, not terrible, playable. Put those weights back, MOI climbs to about 4,800, and that's solidly in the good to very good range. I think for guys looking for low spin, 0811 Gen 2 X is gonna be one you're definitely gonna wanna look at. Now, second model, 0811 XF Gen 2. This is a 5-weight system. I have 5 equal heavy weights in it. Keep in mind, most configurations will have 2 of the steel weights, lighter weights, so you can balance them out, or you can kind of cheat to the heel with the heavy weights and get a little draw bias as well. But the real story here isn't moving weights around, it's MOI, right? What is the USGA limit? 5,900. What is the MOI of the 0811 XF Gen 2? 5,900. So significance there. Look, since the days of the square drivers disappearing because they, for all their MOI were pretty much garbage as far as speed is concerned, nobody has hit the limit. PXG has. So resistance to twisting this way, 5,900, absolutely maximum MOI. As far as kind of top to bottom, add that up and you're over 10,000 total MOI, also alone in the industry, breaking the 10,000 MOI threshold. So really, really impressive engineering behind this, right? That's what we're talking about. This is an engineering story, no hype, just real, actual engineering. Now, so some of the issues you sometimes have with high MOI designs, they tend to get spinny, or you can lose ball speed. I don't expect that's going to be the case here. CG relative to the neutral axis, 0, right on it. What that means, low to mid spin. PXG is saying mid spin. I'm telling you, at worst mid spin. For a lot of guys, it's going to be low to mid spin, and that's really intriguing given the MOI. Now, want to clarify something because I will get email from my friends in R&D if I don't. MOI is not the same thing as forgiveness, right? There's not an absolute correlation. When we talk about forgiveness, we tend to look at what we see downrange, right? How close are the balls, the groupings? When you've hit a bunch of shots, how close together are they? What do that dispersion of lips looks like? That's kind of the ultimate measure of forgiveness. That said, MOI is a number, it's quantifiable, and starting with high MOI is a pretty good way to find your way to forgiveness. So in terms of actual performance comparisons, look, I'm hoping to get that data for you, maybe even before this video is done. If I can't, look, let's go with what PXG is telling us. And I preface this, right, gotta consider the source. I've seen lots of presentations from lots of manufacturers who tell me invariably that their driver is the best, and here's the data to prove it. The next time I see a chart that says otherwise will be the first time. So that's true for everybody in the industry, right? It's not unique to PXG. But here's what PXG is claiming. They tested against the top 5 competitors. It's going to be TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, Ping, and Cobra. And with the X model, in addition to being the lowest spin, they're saying 2 miles an hour more ball speed compared to the closest competitor. Distance-wise, if you look at the entire field, it's upwards of 15 yards. That's the claim. So that's pretty crazy. So it's going to be 15 against whichever one of those that was slowest. And I'm guessing the testing was probably before Titleist release TS. I'm gonna guess that the 917 is kind of the low end, to be honest, right? It wasn't always the longest, but still, TaylorMade Callaway guys that are known for being longer, they're still saying plus or minus 5 yards there. With the XF, ball speed number 1 mile an hour versus the nearest competitor, but again, super forgiving, more forgiveness than we would see in the competitive set, and that's going to be really the story here. So really impressive stuff. I think, you know, both of these are going to get a really good look to see if they go in my bag. I've generally been a low spin guy, and so I'm leaning towards the X on that alone, but I'm telling you, having taken some whacks with this and just kind of seeing the consistency and delivers without, again, creeping into high spin, I don't think I'm going to hit it as far as the X. But again, the consistency, that forgiveness that comes in part from the MOI and all the stuff it takes to get downrange forgiveness, I think it's all here. So certainly going to be worth checking out. Now, stock shafts, no such thing with PXG, right? Everything with the exception of like PXG for Heroes, custom fit. That said, the lineup is impressive, some good stuff in there. What stands out to me, Project X Even Flow T1100 White, the new one, also in the Titleist lineup. Really interesting option for low spin guys. I like it quite a bit. Also in the lineup, Fujikura Pro 2.0 series. You've got the MRC Tensei Orange and Blue. If you want to step up, pay a $150 upcharge for the Tensei CK Pro. Blue, orange, and the new white, all available in the lineup. When you get into the more exotic, super aftermarket stuff, Graphite Design, Acra, all in the lineup as well. So just a ton of stock shaft options. Really intriguing stuff from PXG. And again, I want to reiterate, for all the kaboom baby stuff, look, engineering story, a real engineering story. This is the kind of stuff I'd expect to hear when I sit in a room with Ping or Cobra, guys who tell engineering stories, right? So that to me is really impressive. Again, $575, retail date January 15th. Hope to have more for you soon from a performance perspective, but in the meantime, definitely keep this one on your radar. Availability $115. We'll talk soon.